I'm reading from the Daily Drucker, July 7th. Creating customer value. There is no loss to the customer by eliminating activities that do not add value. Activity-based costing provides the foundation for integrating into one analysis of several procedures required to create customer value. With activity cost as a starting point, the enterprise can separate activities that add value to the customer from those that do not, and eliminate the latter. The chain of value creating activities uncovered during a value analysis is the starting point for analyzing the underlying process of value creation. Process analysis seeks to improve the features of the product or service, restructure the process while reducing costs, and maintaining or improving quality. Process analysis in an automobile industry, for example, involves designing and redesigning components and sub-functions in order to carry out each function at predetermined cost targets. For instance, the basic function of an automobile is to provide transportation, but the secondary function is to include comfort, fuel efficiency, and safety. Each of the functions and subfunctions require components or services that create value to the customer. Each also contributes to the quality of the automobile as well as to the cost. A process team is formed from personnel who will perform value chain activities. This team often includes suppliers and customers. The task of this team is to identify the functions the product or service is to perform and to analyze the components or services that go into each function with the objective of achieving value and quality objectives while meeting cost targets. So that long explanation is talking about breaking down the entire value chain, as it calls it, whereas we analyze everything that we do from the narrow perspective of what adds value to the customer. More often, we use accounting and activity-based costing to figure out what in the process cost us money, and that's actually the wrong approach. He is actually including the fact that we do take into consideration all the costs of the components while we're analyzing the value chain of the ultimate product or service that we're going to give to the client. But I think what the lesson here is to look into every component of the production of the service or the product and analyze how, where, and why it adds value to the customer. And then once you acknowledge that process or that task or that step that you take through that process of service delivery or product creation, that you analyze how, where, and why it gives value to your customer, and keep that in mind, because ultimately all these components are going to add up to one lump sum value, which is what the customer will get from that product or service. And what you want to do is you want to start with that number in mind and then reverse engineer that to see if you can provide that much value and get paid for that value, and then figure out if the cost targets match that value within the profit target that you want to go to. This is the inverse of the cost plus method. The cost plus method is we figure out how much the production cost us, and then we add something to that, and then we price it that way. That's actually the wrong way of doing it. So we analyze how we add value, why we add value, what the ultimate value is going to be to the customer, what the product or service means in terms of quality, so the customer is willing to pay what it's worth, and then you reverse engineer the cost into it and just make sure it falls into the profits you wanna get. And if you can produce value on that product or service that's above and beyond reverse engineering the cost into it, instead, if you think that I should think of cost and then add profit to that, I think you may be in the wrong business, because some people may buy from you, but you're not going to disrupt or attract the type of client that is looking for that high value, high quality service and looking for loyalty. They're always going to look for other service providers that focus on cost to try to maintain cost as low as possible and price based on a little bit above cost just so they can win the business. Instead, focus on the value that you can bring into your customer. Analyze your entire supply chain, your entire value chain. Figure out what are you doing that is not adding value. Remove that from the process. Do not spend any time on non-value added activities so you can concentrate just on the value added activities so you can meet your cost targets while maintaining and always aiming for the highest value you can provide as possible, and then reverse engineer your costs into it. So that was the Daily Drucker. I hope you liked it.